Yes. Okay. Do I have to repeat the whole thing? Corporate officer? No?
I haven't heard anything you said.
Yes.
A lot of the video.
So I should repeat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. First was to dress rehearsal. So now take two. Mayor's report. Yesterday, Deputy Mayor Trainer and Councillor Barkwell joined me in Penticton for the opening of the Okanagan Lake Dam East Salmon Passage. The passage is a naturalized stream built to connect the river channel with Okanagan Lake to allow fish to bypass the outlet dam. For the first time since the 1950s, sockeye and Chinook will be able to return from the ocean and swim unimpeded to their historical spawning grounds on the 14 tributaries to Okanagan Lake, including Trout Creek. The Salmon Passage project was led by the Okanagan Nation Alliance and is the latest in a series of measures taken recently in BC and Washington State to restore healthy salmon populations to the Okanagan Basin. On August 13th, Deputy Mayor Trainer, Councillor Barkwell, and Councillor Peake joined me at Rotary Beach to see the installation of the new Moby mat, which is a rollout mat for wheelchairs and other wheeled equipment such as strollers to help people access the lake. The mat is a non-slip walkway made from recycled material, and it just sits on top of the sand. The mat will be rolled out each summer and stored away during the winter. The Moby mat complements the accessible year-round washrooms opened earlier this year at Peach Orchard year at Peach Orchard. I don't have to do it. Just let that guy talk. It fits with council's priority to implement the waterfront concept plan. On August 7th, Councillor Barkwell and I attended the regular board meeting of the Regional District of Okanagan Similkameen, where I brought forward a motion for the board to support the District of Summerland's application to collect a municipal and regional district tax, which we require as part of our application to the province. The motion was approved unanimously. The board also passed a resolution to write a letter to the province to express support for the finalization of the incorporation of the municipality of Okanagan Falls and to raise concerns about the delay in issuing the letter's patent, which is the legal document that finalizes the incorporation process. Finally, a delegation from BC Transit provided an update on regional transit matters, including a digital on-demand pilot that started in April in the Crawford neighborhood of Kelowna. Rather than having a fixed schedule, this service uses technology to dispatch buses to pick up riders at bus stops. So far, the service has seen a steady increase in ridership and rider satisfaction. And while further analysis is required, it appears the cost of a digital on-demand service is equivalent to a conventional bus route. BC Transit says there could be an opportunity for running another pilot in the South Okanagan in 2026, and we should discuss amongst ourselves if we want, if we'd like Summerland to be considered for that. So that's my report. I'll now ask the CEO for his.
Thank you, Your Worship. Starting with some good news on that hotel tax application rather. We have been notified that Destination BC has now completed its review of our application, and they are satisfied as to its completeness. So now they'll forward that to the Ministry of Finance, who will present it to Cabinet for approval. Once Cabinet approval is received, Ministry of Finance will work with the district and accommodation providers to implement a program in our community, which we are targeting for January 2026. I'll keep council informed of future progress here. Our newly minted Instagram account is doing well, jumping to 84 followers now and climbing every day. Residents are invited to follow us on the platform where we will post similar information to what we do on Facebook, such as public updates, useful information, happenings around the community. Check us out and give us a follow at Instagram.com/District of Summerland if you have not done so already. Summerland Aquatic and Fitness Center will be closed from August 25th to September 7th for annual maintenance. During this time, we'll be working on a deep clean of the fitness room and installation of new fitness equipment, fully draining and cleaning the pool and hot tub basins and the pool basin tiling repairs, as well as installation of new floor drain covers. We'll be reopening on Monday, September 8th at 6:30 a.m. Prairie Valley Road is turning black, and we have put down the first lift of asphalt with the second one scheduled for the first week of September. By next week, we'll try to accommodate single lane traffic during the day, but please follow all signage as conditions on site are changing quickly as we head into the final stages of this project. Finally, just as a reminder that all the latest updates on the Wharton Critical Infrastructure Revitalization Project can be found at whartonstreet.ca. From pictures of the progress being made to traffic updates and project highlights, we are trying hard to keep everyone apprised of the happenings on site with this one-stop shop for your information needs. More signage has also been added in many places, and key parking areas have been set up as well and profiled for their ease of access. Please head downtown to support the local businesses if you get a chance, all of whom remain open during construction.
CAO, I've had several people comment this summer about the geese at both Rotary and Powell Beach. And a couple of years ago, we did have these, I don't know what they are, but they're about that high. And they look like lights or sound or something, and they go into the sand. And apparently they're supposed to keep geese away. Powell Beach right now, like the geese will come for a couple of days and then they drop their droppings everywhere and then they leave and then they come back. Is that something that we could look at, like getting those, whatever they are? I don't know the name. I think, sorry, what is it?
Geese lights.
Geese lights. Is that something we could do? I mean, I realize it's almost the end of the summer, but if we can borrow them from somewhere just to do a test and see if they, have any results, that would be helpful.
Yeah, through the mayor, we could certainly look into that. Not familiar with those devices. Out of curiosity, when you remember them being installed, did the geese all go away during that period of time?
I honestly can't remember. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago. But I know they're used in other municipalities. So yeah, I just wanted to, if somebody else has them, maybe Penticton or Peachland or something, and we could borrow them or try them. Just to do something, because the beaches are so beautiful, but then when the geese come in, they just get covered in poop, and then that, affects the water quality. So just wanted to see if anybody could maybe lend us some, or we could try that out.
Okay, Councilor Barco?
Yes, I heard about the goose problem down at Powell Beach and went down to have a look, and you've got $1 million, zillion-dollar beach there and nobody on it because of the problem with the geese and the swimmer's itch that the geese or any waterfowl will have if they're in that area. And it's been there off and on for quite a few years, like forever. And if we need to, I'd like to have staff look into it, see what's being done before. There's the goose egg addling program that maybe some people remember. But if it takes a little bit of a budget item to make those beaches usable, it's worth it, because you can't have a beach like that that's not being used.
I think we're digressing and entering into notice of motion territory here. So if somebody, we can talk to the CAO if you want, or else if you want to bring forward a motion notice of motion at the end of the meeting, we can go that way. Okay. So let's move on to our delegations. We have the Home Zero Collective. Mr. Singh is on Zoom. So welcome, Mr. Singh, and just go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Hello? Can you guys hear me? I'm just wondering if anybody can let me know that they can hear
I
me.
think you're on mute, sir. We can't hear you.
I'm not on mute. Same as. Okay. Okay, can you hear me now?
Still can't hear you.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? My microphone is working. I have tested it. Can you try the other person? Maybe if there's a speaker problem on your end? Problem on your end.
Can you hear me, Your Worship? I think it's a conversation between you and I.
Yeah. Okay, so you can hear me.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor. It
there-
does seem
there
we're
we go.
having some kind of technical gremlins today. I actually wonder if we should take a short recess, reboot everything, and then re-engage in the meeting. That would be the one way we could try to eliminate these.
Yeah. These ideas.
How long? 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay, hold on, the mayor.
able to fix the problem we have.
Yeah.
So the situation is, people can hear us on Zoom, but we can't hear them. So, Mr. Singh, I'm going to have to ask you if you'd be able to come back to us at our next meeting, because there's no way we can hear you. So hopefully that's okay, and our corporate officer will reach out to you to reschedule. So my apologies for that. It's unfortunate. We don't usually have these technical glitches, so I apologize, and we'll hear from you next time if that's okay. Okay, I'm sorry. And so Councillor Patton, you're going to have to, if you want to speak, phone in to the corporate officer. And she'll just put your phone up to the microphone. And if that works for you, it's about the only way we can do it. And to vote, just stick up your hand.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, does that work for everybody? We're just kind of improvising here, so.
Okay, tell Kendra that I'll text her.
Yeah,
How's
so
that?
unless he wants to.
Okay.
Okay.
Watch and listen.
All right, bye.
Okay, so we won't have any delegations today, on Zoom, and that was the only delegation we had scheduled. So we'll look forward to hearing you next time, Mr. Singh. We now have the public comment opportunity for any of the business items. Anyone like to speak? No? Okay, we'll move on to those business items. The Giants Head Elementary School grounds. And we have our Director of Community Services, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. At the July 8th, 2025 Council meeting, Council passed a resolution that staff be directed to prepare a report on the advisability and feasibility, including potential uses of the District of Summerland managing the school grounds and playground located at Giants Head Elementary School. Staff visited the property. There is a GIS image included in the agenda package, and we observed several recreation amenities, and these photos are also included in your package. There is a playground for 5 to 12-year-olds, which is deemed in fair condition, a playground for 3 to 5-year-olds, also deemed in fair condition, a sport court with 2 8-foot basketball hoops deemed in poor condition, 2 basketball game baskets, a grass field, garbage cans, picnic tables, and benches. Potential uses for the property could include community use of the playgrounds, community use of the green spaces for things such as passive play, picnics, special event space, off-leash dog area, etc. However, it is not recommended that it's used for organized sports because the condition of the fields are just not to standard, but it could be a passive green space. Unless we put significant investment into making sports fields. There could be community use of the sport court for basketball and ball hockey, but again, the condition of the courts are not great. And there also could be an investment to build pickleball courts on the property. However, there could be a conflict with neighboring residents. Full property maintenance considerations were noted as the requirement for grass cutting, grass trimming, playground inspections and maintenance, irrigation maintenance and repairs and blowouts, garbage can pickup, litter pickup throughout the property, tree assessments and maintenance, vandalism and graffiti management, parking lot and sidewalk maintenance, repairs, and snow removal. Other considerations that came up were ensuring the property under the District of Summerland, assuming risk management of the use of the property, dog enforcement along playgrounds, access to washrooms, and financial impacts for labor, materials, and supplies for repair, signage, etc. The school district provided district staff an update on their current and long-term plans for the property. They noted that the grounds maintenance will be minimal at Giants Head Elementary. They do not have enough ground staff to maintain the closed elementary schools, and resources will be directed to schools that are open and operating. They can't continue to maintain the playground at Giants Head due to limited resources. If there is another party interested in taking on the maintenance and liability associated with the playground, the school district would keep the playground. If not, the playground will have to be removed to eliminate any potential liability issues for the school district. The school district would be open to a draft or drafting a lease agreement or memorandum of understanding that would lay out the terms of the agreement. The District of Summerland would need to take on the required maintenance of the playground, as well as the associated liability. Staff have identified the greatest value with the minimal associated costs would be to take on the responsibilities of the playgrounds only. This would result in a small amount of monthly labor for inspections. The risks include unknown specific costs for ongoing maintenance costs for repairs and taking on the liability. Should staff wish to enter into any type of lease agreement with school district, the district's financial plan would need to be amended to allocate the funds required to take on the management of the school grounds and the playground. Labor costs could may be able to be absorbed into the current operational budgets. However, in doing so, it would require a reallocation of tasks from other duties. The estimated expenses are approximately $10,000 a year for playgrounds only, and that includes doing small repairs, to approximately $25,000 a year for full ground maintenance. Any significant repairs, such as a significant irrigation failure, would require additional funding. Capital budgets may need to be amended to include the replacement of equipment and amenities if the district took that responsibility on. There may be an option to take on playground responsibility only until it's deemed that the playgrounds are fully at end of life and no longer feasible to repair in order to avoid costs of playground removal and replacements. However, that would need to be negotiated with the school district. Responsibility for the management of the litter and garbage pickup in and around the playgrounds would also need to be determined with the school district. So with that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Council. Any questions? Councillor Peak.
Thank you very kindly, Your Worship. So the estimated costs for rubbish and litter and that kind of thing is not included in the costs of 25,000 or 10,000 at this point.
Through the mayor, that is correct.
And if we took on these projects, either one or both, the playground plus the grounds, then we would have to look at the a change of responsibilities. So some other service things may not happen. Would that be what that recommendation was?
Through the mayor to Councillor Peak, if we were to take on the responsibilities, I don't anticipate adding additional staff. So that would require our existing staff to reduce doing other tasks in order to take on these tasks.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, are we going to have a discussion after questions? Then I'll leave my opinion until then. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. This issue is definitely close to my heart. I think it's a real asset in our community, particularly in that area of our municipality. So my question to you, Lori, is taking a look at our overall district parks inventory. One of the challenges that I recall seeing was that we were limited in that for the amount of people we had or our population. Ideally, we would have more parks or playgrounds per person. Can you do you know what I'm trying to get at? I'm trying to remember where that report was, where we were kind of trying to figure out adding park space to Summerland. And I'm just wondering that if this opportunity at Giant's Head became a part of our inventory, if that would help address that shortcoming in the overall parks inventory.
Through the mayor, to Councillor Betts. So I'm assuming you're talking about having as much parkland per capita and how that compares with other municipalities through the Parks and Rec Master Plan when the analysis was done.
Yes, thank you.
So I think it's difficult for Summerland to compare to other communities because we do have a lot of natural areas. So when you think of the parks that we have, like Giant's Head Mountain and Conkle Mountain Parks, were a bit high, but it did flag that we are short in neighborhood park locations, so small community neighborhood parks. And this specific one is close to Memorial Park, so they had circles around where we were deficient in neighborhood parks. So I wouldn't say that this one is specifically catering to the same residents in the area to accomplish additional neighborhood park. But I know that we've been challenged through the Parks and Rec Master Plan in having enough parkland to be able to meet some specific needs. So when we were looking for off-leash dog parks, we were challenged with having enough park space to find an adequate location and potentially pickleball in the future for expansion of pickleball. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Nice to think about that.
Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Lori, any indication from the school district on the cost of a lease?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Elfen, we did not discuss a costing, just if they would be open for negotiations. So we didn't go down that.
Councillor Barkle.
Thank you, Worship. I'm curious about the condition of the fields that I haven't walked the grass myself, and I wouldn't necessarily have a professional opinion, but what's the problem with them, and what would it take to get them into something that's usable for our various teams that we have, the soccer league or the baseball league or whatever?
Through the mayor to Councillor Barkwell, there's a lot of uneven ground in the area, and it's really essentially down to sort of the foundation under the turf. And so it would require probably a significant investment to fill the spots, returf it. Potentially, probably the easiest use might be a soccer field, but again, there would need to be some significant investments to get the playing field flat. As far as a ball diamond, it probably wouldn't meet code, the size of the property. It's geared for elementary school aged kids, so maybe for smaller children, but we'd have to do a bit of a survey to see if that would be possible to bring it up to code.
Hello.
We really don't. We have enough. There's no time constraints being put on the ball diamonds out in the highway for little kids. So at this time, is there I'm getting at is that we don't really need a ball diamond for small kids. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to Councillor Barkwell, I would say that our current allocation is meeting needs, but I would say with the new investments that are happening out there, I anticipate the sport will grow and there may be future needs for ball diamonds. I wouldn't say we are tight on soccer fields. I think we're able to accommodate the needs for soccer fields, but I can see we're getting close to capacity on ball diamonds with the resurgence of girls fast pitch, which came up this year. And so we're having a bit of a challenge to meet that need.
And then the other part of that is I don't know just how uneven the fields are, but it's pretty remarkable the way grass will just grow up over the material that you lay down. Like one time you topped Memorial Park with material from the landfill. And, if you were patient, we're over and did this for over a couple of years, wouldn't you soon have a level field by top dressing the fields, as a rather cheap way of bringing them up to something that's usable?
Through the mayor to Councillor Barkwell, possibly. That area is a bit soft because of the water going underneath. There's a high water table in there. I know we were challenged looking at the field when we were looking to upgrade the ball diamond at Living Memorial, and it may work, but there is a good chance it might not work to get to a standard for regulation play.
Yeah, I was thinking more about the soccer fields. Okay, thanks.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Observational, because I have been going to that park with grandchildren over the summer. It is well used, so we're getting a lot of visitors, like families that bring their dogs out and walk in that area. There's oftentimes in the evening 2 or 3 families sitting on the benches and their children are playing on the playgrounds. Even the little basketball court gets used. So I think there's good reason for us to look at having this area for both a playground usage and an open space, and doing that kind of discussions with SD 67.
Councillor Chair.
I agree with Councillor Peak. I think that while the playground is there and while we really don't know what is going to happen with Giants Head, I think it would be worth for the district to take on responsibility for the playground, maybe just for a year to kind of see what the usage is like. And also while we wait to hear again what will happen with that building, I'd be interested to know if they do end up leasing it, who's going to be leasing it, because if we are supporting the playground, I think it's our responsibility to know who's also in the building. I think that in terms of the field, I'd like to leave that with the school district and see what their definition of minimal maintenance is. Maybe that's enough. I think taking on both the fields and the playground would be a bit too much at this point. And then also, I guess I would, if we did take it on, I'd be just concerned about garbage. If we are going to take this on, we want to make sure that it's a safe playground, that it looks nice, that there's not, graffiti or any kind of mess surrounding the playground. So I would be willing to bring forward a motion that we look after the playground for 1 year, which I believe has a value of $10,000. Is that right, Laurie?
Through the mayor, that's an annual estimation, and
Okay.
it's just an estimate.
Okay, so I know this report's for information, but you are ultimately looking for direction if we decide something? Okay. So yeah, I can put forward a motion then that says that we take it on for the playground for 1 year. Or we enter negotiations with the school board to do that.
Councillor Peak, you're seconding?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay. Anybody like to speak to the motion? Councillor Betts?
Thank you for the opportunity. It's interesting because, the field itself is quite uneven. So I can see that it's a challenge that it isn't really feasible as a sports field. So it's hard to want to take it on as the maintenance. But what will SD 67 actually continue to do when they are not going to be present in that corner of our community whatsoever? They're going to have to send resources up there, and I'm really not sure what that's going to look like. But my understanding is that this, the $10,000 a year could be allocated from, or that it's additional 10,000, or that it's reallocated from what we're already spending.
Through the mayor to Councillor Betts, that would be to, for any materials and supplies or anything if we were doing repairs. And I think that would be a requirement in the budget just in case we had to do work on it outside of the general labor.
Right, thank you. So for that, I mean, I think that having this playground, actually, there's 2 playgrounds on this property. They're 2 separate playgrounds. I think it's really important to have playgrounds for kids. And I will support this motion. My only challenge would be why it's only 1 year.
Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the motion that's on the table, but I don't agree with it. I would go with 3, to be honest with you. If we're gonna take it on, I think we need to take on the whole thing, the grass cutting, the mowing, the maintenance, because if not, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna catch the grief from the citizens of Summerland going, how come you haven't cut the grass? How come it's a mess? How come, this or that? So if we're gonna do it, but I wish we were having this conversation during budget. It's another, $25,000 hit, so to speak. So I think it's an opportunity that I don't want to see us not take, but what else could come off the table possibly to achieve what we're trying to achieve? And I guess that's a conversation through budget. But I don't agree with just taking on the playground by itself because, like you say, when they say minimal maintenance, it'll be minimal maintenance probably. They'll cut the grass once a month and it'll look like a hayfield, so that's my opinion.
Ostad?
Thank you, Your Worship. And in a similar vein, I was going to see, I know it's a live motion, but we would also need direction on where that money's coming from. If that happens now, whether it's the 10 or the $25,000 estimate, given that council has asked staff to seek savings and revenue generation opportunities. I'm not sure if this is falling on the find additional savings and operational reductions to accommodate this, or if this is a tax increase.
Councillor Chair?
Councillor Van Elfen, I appreciate where you're coming from. I didn't want to take on too much this year. And that's why I proposed just a year, because I wanted to see kind of how it would look. And also we haven't had budget discussions yet. So I thought, we are entering into the fall where the grass does slow down. So I thought that just doing the playground for a year would be okay. And then we could revisit it. We could also have more discussions with the school district and find out what they mean by minimal. Like, I'd like to know what that means. So that was my rationale for just proposing a year.
Councillor Barkwell?
Yeah, I've been wrestling with this one quite a bit because it does seem like it presents tremendous value for the community but the other side of the coin is, well, maybe it'll still be there even if we didn't do anything. I agree with the 1 year because you don't know who's going to lease that building. Maybe Montessori school is, and they'll think, oh, that's great. We're going to use it with all our kids and stuff, and the district's going to pay for the playground that our kids are going to be using at the school. Whereas, really, if they're going to use it that way, then that's who should be paying for the playground. So we'll have to wait. And I think it should be an additional $10,000 in the budget. I don't think we should be, we can't, cut services in other departments and let things go downhill from where they are now. So there's no way that in my mind, that we can add this expenditure without increasing the budget by $10,000 next year. So I think it sounded like we needed some direction on that. And I'll just maybe the corporate officer could advise. I'm thinking of making an amendment to add that point to the motion that the budget be increased by $10,000 next year for the playground. Is that a good idea?
through the matter, Councillor Barkle, yeah, you could put forward an amendment to the motion to be voted on. Or the way the motion's drafted is that lease agreement would come back and we could have a motion at that time from where it would come from after staff is able to find it. So either process would work, but if you were to amend it, you'd have to bring forward a motion to amend.
I would suggest the second, we wait, because if they come back with a lease agreement, you don't know how much they want for the lease. You have no idea. We don't know. So let's wait to see what comes back.
Yeah, I see that. If it's gonna come back, we can incorporate it at that time and I'm assuming it's gonna be a lease of $1 a year or else, well, that's not a very good negotiation for our part.
Councillor Trainer, then Councillor B.
Lori, can you just confirm for me that $10,000, was that for any potential maintenance? And did that include staff time, or was that just for like actual materials?
So looking down at the $25,000, that was kind of allocating what a similar park is maintained right now for similar size location properties. So I would say that includes the labor. The $10,000, like I say, it's hard to tell until we, as things break. So we wanted to allocate $10,000 in there if things broke and we had to fix them and we had funding available to do that. But we would have to unless we're adding additional staff or contracting it out to outside staff, it would be just using our existing staff. They would come as part of when they go around to playgrounds and do their maintenance, and they would be taking time away from other things to do that, which should be minimal because it's just a once a month task, unless something breaks down and we're dealing with more cost.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I agree with the discussion with leaving it for just the playgrounds at this time. I do believe there's great value in the open area, and you can see, regardless of how a recreation plan might look at how you measure small neighborhood parks, this park is really centrally located on a plateau that's above where we look at the downtown area and Memorial Park. I think the opportunity for staff to go away and have this discussion will give us more background to make a decision. In going through that park this summer, I mean, the grass is long. It's probably 3 inches long, but you can run through it. The boys have been playing soccer on it. They're not ideal, but it's a nice open space and it's well usable. So if we just leave it for a year we look after the playgrounds and see what the District 67 is doing for their minimal maintenance, as well as seeing who may take on the Giants Head School building. I think that provides the open opportunity and see where the discussion goes with staff.
Councillor Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, it's something we can discuss in the future. Let's see what the lease agreement comes back as. But also, as our director said, maybe there's an opportunity to lease out the maintenance. Maybe a private company can cut the grass. And maybe we'll see where that goes. That's another discussion. But I'll go with the motion that's on the table.
Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question actually, outside the discussion, is to do with, do we know if SD 67 intends to be maintaining the parking lot in the winter with snow removal?
Through the Mayor, Councillor Betts, I don't know what their obligations are as far as the parking lot. So that's why we had put that in as a potential consideration. If we were going to be taking on everything, we would have to discuss what was happening in the parking lot and assume that we might have to. If the building is empty, I don't know if they'll be doing anything in there.
Thank you for that. I think it's really, this is really challenging because it was SD 67's decision to close this school and we're being left with footing the bill to maintain the property, which just seems a little challenging to get our heads wrapped around. I do think that the playground amenity is really important and maintaining this in our community is important, but if the byproduct is just that the District of Summerland gets to maintain all the playgrounds, lands, and parking lots, just doesn't quite seem like the responsibility is being equally shared. So I hope that we can navigate that in discussions with SD 67 where their responsibilities lie, because until that building is leased, it's their responsibility.
So what Councillor Beth just said there is exactly how I feel. I can't support this motion. SD 67 has limited resources, but so do we. I think that I'm all for taking advantage of opportunities as they arise, but this isn't really part of any of our plans. And I don't see people banging down the doors asking us to take this on. You know, why are we paying for the school board's decision? That's what it feels like. Maybe we could provide a fee-for-service contract where they pay us to maintain their playground and maintain their grounds, but for us to pay money to take on their property, look after their property, I don't get it. When Glenford closed, we didn't take on anything from Glenford. It was left there for years. And we levied taxes on that property. And I think if we're able to, we should be levying taxes on the Giants Head school property, because that playground might be an asset for the community, but an empty building sitting there isn't an asset to the community. And I think it was only the taxes that we levied on Glenford that motivated them, gave them the incentive to actually do something with that building and sell it, and got Unisys in there, which is an asset to the community. And I can just see that building sitting there doing nothing, and for us taking on some maintenance, that's just going to prolong the agony. So I can't support this. I think the school board needs to. I would have thought the school board would have thought all this stuff through. What's going to happen after they close the school? What's going to happen to the school? What's going to happen to the grounds and the playgrounds? And not just let the municipality come riding in there and try and solve it all. I don't see that's our role. I just think we're taking on something that we shouldn't be taking on. Councillor Barkwell.
I guess I look at it as quite differently. I don't think it's comparable to Glenford. I think we'll lose that playground equipment if we don't look after it. And, you know, looking after something is a whole lot different than buying it. And if all we have to do is look after it, then that's probably represents value. And I don't want to run the risk of losing it.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I have to agree with Councillor Barkwell. They have options. If we don't take it on, the playground equipment's going to disappear. It's quite simple because they're not going to carry the liability. So it's either we're going to carry the liability and maintain it, or they're just going to rip the playground equipment out, decommission everything, and that's the end of it. And hopefully they'll lease the building out eventually. But they're going to retain that land, but they're not going to retain all the assets outside and carry liability. If they're, that's my opinion, but.
Lori, did they tell you they're going to rip it out if nobody takes it on, if we don't take it on?
The response was that the playground would be removed and they would continue to do minimal maintenance on the grounds.
Councillor Trainer, then Pete.
I see all your points, Mayor Holmes. I do think that Giants Head School is in a much more central location, and so it's a real draw for all of the kids that live around that neighborhood. And even though it's not fully our responsibility, the kids have just lost a school, and I think that we can maintain the playground for a year while everybody figures out what we're going to do with that, or what they're going to do with that building. It's not a huge ask, and that's why I proposed just a year, because I too want to know what they're going to do. And I certainly don't want to take on another jurisdiction's responsibility, but I think about the reality of the kids in our town, and that's a playground for them, and I want them to be able to use it. And I think it would be a shame for it to be ripped out, right away. So that's why I'm going to support this.
Councillor Pete.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. It's very good discussion we're having. I think that we should at least take on the playgrounds for the year and see what's happening with the property. I'm not particularly worried about the parking because you can park at Dale Meadows Fields and still walk into this property. So maybe it doesn't have to be part of it for a year. It's up to them to decide what they're doing with their building and what happens that way. A year gives us a perspective that we don't have right now. So I will support the motion as it stands.
Okay, Councillor Betts?
And thank you for the discussion. I think that playground is an absolute priority. So I appreciate a better understanding of why just limit it to 1 year to have a better understanding where SD 67 stands without taking on responsibility for more and more of the property, which they would happily let us do in perpetuity. I do think as well that having more people on the property will prevent vandalism and that property falling into disrepair, which, you know, obviously is the worst possible thing that can happen over there, to everybody's disappointment. But for that reason, I'll be supporting the motion as written.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? Councillor Patton and myself opposed. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, just an update, if I may, on something totally different, but perhaps related. Council, you may recall, had asked for UBCM meeting with the Minister of Infrastructure in relation to disbursement of provincial property, its relinquishment, and the costs that municipality have been asked in past scenarios to take on. Just as an awareness for council, we've been notified that the Minister of Infrastructure has declined that meeting request. So we remain in this situation of lack of clarity.
Did we also request a meeting with the Minister of Education on that topic?
Through the mayor. So we did request originally the meeting topic through the Minister of Education, and then it was redirected to the Minister of Infrastructure as it was within their portfolio, and then it was subsequently denied.
That's Minister Ma, isn't it? Of Infrastructure. Isn't it Bowen Ma, the Minister of Infrastructure? Oh, well, that's why she called me. She's not going to be there at UBCM. Okay. Might be worth, yeah, we'll talk about that. Next on the agenda is the capital projects update. CEO Stat, you want to introduce that?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Happy to introduce this. And this is our second in a row major projects capital update. We'll keep doing these as a standing item for council on our key projects, the ones we'll hear about again today, updates relating to Prairie Valley Road, the Wharton project, and the primary clarifier. As the Prairie Valley Road wraps up, we'll probably be turning our sights to Victoria Road as the next major project that we'll start reporting on. As you know, that has to go the rest of the way to the oval about there on Prairie. So that'll be an expensive and complex and very important project for the community. And we'll be reporting on that. But today we have a couple of stand-ins for the regular directors on this. We do have Sean Grundy and Jake McCoster, who will be standing in and be able to answer any questions council has that are very closely related to these projects. And with that, we could probably just jump into the first updates, if that works for you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, go ahead, Jake. Manager of Engineering, Jake McCoster, in case people don't know his title.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll start with Wharton Street and just give an update on that. So far, our progress is all the underground utilities have been completed on Wharton Street from Kelly Ave to Victoria Road North. This week, the contractor will be wrapping up the final underground utility installations on Victoria and the Main Street intersection. So I believe they were putting in the last drain manhole today when I was out there. The curbing on Wharton has been completed with the majority of the concrete banding that'll be by the path getting finished up as well. And the structural soil and silva cells for the trees that are getting planted have been installed on Wharton. And the multi-use path has been prepped and the brick pavers are currently being installed. They started at the Kelly Ave and they're working their way down Warden. And the cenotaph has been dismantled and rebuilt in the new location. So right now we're approximately 30% of the project complete based on the budget spent. However, there's still some large price items such as the paving and the rest of the pavers and the washroom that's going to be coming that'll bump that up quite quickly. We spent approximately 1.6 million at the end of July on it, and we're currently within the budget allowance for this project. So key milestones that we've completed are the storm, water, and sanitary works along Warden, the electrical and the communications along Warden, the cenotaph being dismantled and relocated, the concrete curb along Warden completed. Right now, the Warden Street surface works from Victoria to Kelly will continue, and Henry Avenue's gonna get busier as the underground work has been done. We had some conflicts on the Henry Ave with some underground fiber optic and stuff that wasn't on the plans, so we resolved that. They're gonna be hitting Henry pretty hard. This Thursday night, we're doing an overnight job where we're tying in the water mains on Victoria. So it's going to be an outage, but we've let people know, and it's going to be all night. So next steps, after the water main tying, crews will move to the electrical and the water that run behind the laneway on Victoria Road. And then the contractor's looking at bringing in another crew and starting the electrical that goes from Kelly towards Rosedale down that direction as well. Our target completion date is still November 11th for Remembrance Day. Work is currently a few weeks behind just due to some unforeseen electrical and communications line conflicts, but we are working with the contractor to make sure we get completion before November 11th. And that's it. I'll go to Prairie Valley after. If there's any questions on Wharton, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Questions on Wharton, Councillor Betts, then Barkle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is about the undergrounding. I know the undergrounding of the electrical is complete, but if I'm correct, there's still a wait before the removal of the power lines and power poles is completed. Is that correct? Can you speak to the timeline and how those items are different?
Yes, through the mayor. So the overhead electrical poles will be left in place. So the underground is going to get run. They're giving.
Hello, Christina.
This is the opportunity, some time to.
Councillor Patton, maybe you want to just put on mute. We can actually hear you now.
Great, sorry about that. We're giving businesses the opportunity, some time to convert their services to underground because right now they're being fed overhead, so they'll have to do some work on private property to do that. And CEO Stat, do you have the timeline? I can't remember what we've given businesses to convert to underground before we remove the poles.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I do believe it was tail end of 27 with an install at 28, something like that. Yeah. And we've actually done an estimate of every property and it's sort of 5,000 and under. So it gives them time to do their part.
Thanks for the update. I know it's maybe confusing for some people that underground electrical work is complete, but the power poles are still in place. So I just wanted them to understand it's still part of the project. It's just allowing businesses to have the time to complete their undergrounding of their electricals, and that investment is they're being given that time to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barkle.
Thank you, Worship. Well, I'll start with the compliment that I need to pass on. And the Legion was mentioning that they wanted to have a little ceremony on moving the cenotaph, and there was some noisy equipment working, and they asked one of the operator if they could be quiet for 5 minutes while they did their ceremony, and the whole crew put their tools down. And that's the compliment. But the other part, the less than a compliment part, is that nobody on Main Street, the vendors I spoke to, the shopkeepers, could understand why they had to shut down Victoria Street on a Friday before a long weekend and have it unavailable for the whole weekend for the sake of one day's time. You know, it couldn't the deadline be moved back by one day or a little bit of overtime. So it just seemed like really, really poor timing on that. I have to think a little bit differently. Perhaps there's absolutely no choice, but that wasn't the explanation given. It was just that, oh, well, we have to make the deadline in one day. It just didn't seem to carry a lot of weight with the owners I spoke to. But anyhow, that's the 2 points on Wharton Street I have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Peak?
Thank you, Your Worship. My question is that the target completion date where it speaks to the work is currently a few weeks behind in the schedule due to unforeseen electrical, and that there may be another crew come in to do that. Is that going to increase our costs beyond what we've already budgeted for? And perhaps the question, Jake, is not to you, but to David, but I'll just put it out there.
Thank you, through the mayor. I'll take a stab at that one. We have, it's an MMCD contract with unit rates for each thing. So by having that second crew, we're still paying the unit rate for the lineal meter. We're just working with the contractor. They've been quite good on trying to minimize the amount of delays, and it sounded like one of their crews was finishing up another project. There might be an opportunity to bring them in and get kind of a jump on this next leg.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, we'll move on to Prairie Valley.
Great. Okay, so on Prairie Valley Road, just the progress up to date. The lower lip of asphalt has been paved throughout the project. The multi-use pathway is completed on the west side of the project, and the curbing is ongoing. Let's say they're probably about 2/3 of the curbing done, with the just not in the sections where they're doing the slope work primarily. Sanitary sewers been complete, water mains been complete, and the 2 major slopes are partially completed. So right now, we're 80% of the project complete on the budget and spent approximately 2.4 million. We're nearing the ceiling of the budget, but we currently are still within the allowance. And for the most part, the unknowns and surprises that come with underground installation have already been completed. We're just doing the surface works now. So underway, we're completing the 2 slopes. There's 2 kind of slopes that have been a bit of a hiccup as far as delays on working with geotechs, having to do soil nailing and stuff like that. But those are getting done. They're almost completed, the upper one, and the lower one is basically complete as well. The curb placement's underway and the multi-use path prep is getting completed as well. Our next step will be to finish the multi-use path, clean up the slopes, do the upper lift paving. That's now going to be the first week of September, just due to some of the delays with the walls and rescheduling the subcontractor. But we're working on getting single lane alternating opened up next week. And I believe that's a week later that we wanted to. Yeah, and that's it for Prairie Valley Road. It's getting really close. And one thing, especially with Wharton, if it's right there, if there are any questions or if you want to see a whole bunch of infrastructure in a short amount of space getting installed, maybe talk to CAO Stat and we can do a walkthrough. I know the contractor likes to show it off. So anyway, questions on Prairie Valley Road?
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Prairie Valley Road, and there's a serious problem, and I'm sure that you're aware of it because it was brought to my attention by an anonymous excavator operator last year, where he set a GPS on his bucket and he could tell that a long truck, such as a logging truck going along there, would have about 2 inches on each side to try and make those corners. And we're not getting funding, I don't think, from anywhere for that bike path. So, you know, that is just way too tight. I've had my ear chewed off a couple of times about that road. And I guess the staff would know because they have to take it. Is there a way we can reduce the width of the bike lane on that sharp corner? I don't think they've done the curbing yet, to give the trucks a little bit more space to go around the corner right at the foot of Cartwright, because I've heard so many times that it's a real issue for the truck and trailer people.
Yes, again, through the mayor, I know the section you're talking about on that corner, and we've actually reduced the path there right now before the curbing goes in. That's another reason why that section wasn't done, because we looked at it. We're trying to maximize, especially on the corners where where the trucks are taking a wide and there's mirrors and all the rest, especially with the barriers because of the slope that even reduces it. So we reduced the path slightly there. I think it was approximately half a meter just to keep that road width on the corner.
That's good to hear, because it's gonna need it. And, you know, there's not gonna be any bikes crashing into each other. The bike paths are very generous everywhere. Yeah.
Anyone else on Prairie Valley? No? Okay, thank you, Jake. Moving on to the primary clarifier.
Thank you, Your Worship. So for some of the key milestones down at the wastewater treatment plant, this is kind of building on the last report from last meeting. So we finished the excavation for the clarifier, the blending box, and the splitter box. The clarifier forming and the rebar installation is nominally complete. That's for the base slabs, not for the walls yet. And the base slab pour was actually anticipated for today, but it has been pushed off to Friday. And a little bit of a hiccup with the concrete supply. The initial splitter box tie-in was complete. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but we actually had to shut off the supply to the plant for an overnight tie-in. So staff was a big help with that, and the contractor did a good job on that to make that happen. And we had to do an electrical relocation to facilitate that splitter box because the electrical line ran right through, through the side of it. So for the percent complete to the master schedule, it's at about 26%, and that's just from looking at the dates as opposed to the budget. The budget spent to date is 7%. And that's the amount. So we've just added on the amount from the first progress certificate, added to the value from the previous update. We're forecasting a budget spend of 100%. The overall scope is currently below the approved budget, but there are some optionally scoped items that will be completed as the budget allows, such as centrifuge programming, PLC update, that sort of thing. So we'd mentioned about some of the key milestones. Further to that, the excavation and site preparation is the biggest part. So filter fabric, drain rock, mud slab base is down. That's for the clarifier, pump gallery, splitter box, and blending box. So there was a picture within the package as well. So the picture, the big round area is the primary clarifier. That's the lion's share of this project. That kind of square part off to the side, or the rectangular part, that's the pump gallery. The other parts are elsewhere within the site, and they're significantly smaller, but still quite extensive. So right now underway, this is a lot less in depth than what Jake's presented. It's basically for the next 2 months, all it's going to be is rebar and concrete. And it's just that over and over again. So I apologize in advance. Jeremy's going to have a little bit of a boring report for you coming forward. It's just that the biggest thing is the contractor's really trying to push hard to get this done before it gets cold. So it's just kind of part of the bid. If it does get pushed off and it starts to freeze when they're trying to pour that concrete and let it cure, then we're looking at potential additional costs. So it's good. The project manager there he's really pushing them hard, all the contractors and the subcontractors. So I'm not really worried about it at this point, but they're going to be pushing pretty hard for the next 2 weeks or the next 2 months. So our target completion date is July, August 2026. That's pushing it out to allow for extra time for deficiencies, reporting, all that sort of thing. Substantial completion is looking like more March or April. And yeah, just in general, currently on scope, schedule, budget, it is still early, but general contractor subs continue to make good progress with the intention of completing all the underground works prior to the onset of negative temperatures, as I noted. So just avoiding that risk, potential extra costs. And otherwise, a couple other quick challenges we had. There was some minor change orders that we've had. Where that primary clarifier is, if you look at that picture, that's probably about 6 inches to 8 inches deeper than what it had to be according to design, just because they got to the bottom of that hole and it turned out that it wasn't the right material. So it was kind of like a clay base. They'd take that out, refill it with kind of a nice drain rock. I mentioned the underground electrical conflict, and then I mentioned the mud slab quickly. What that is in that picture, you can see that kind of concrete base around the entire forming there. So what that is just about 1.5 to 2 inches of concrete. Initially, that wasn't going to be there, but because we added that extra drain rock, it just meant there was that additional weight that it had the chance to kind of sink into that drain rock, and then it wouldn't have formed up correctly. So a little bit of a challenge, but worked through it with no issues. And that's basically it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Councilor Peak.
Not so much a question, Your Worship, as the fact I would like to congratulate staff on the number of projects they're working at this year. I'm sure it's been a challenge, but we really appreciate the work that we're getting done for the community. It's very important.
Councilor Tran.
Jake, you mentioned that the contractor for Wharton Street would be willing to do a walkthrough for council. That's possible?
Yeah, I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm sure they would be.
Okay.
Through the mayor, no, they'd be open for that too.
Okay.
So I would coordinate with
Okay.
Graham and then.
Graham, would we be able to do that? Okay, before we go to UBCM? Okay, thank you.
Councilor Barkle.
So everything I've heard is that we're on budget. No looming change orders that are gonna throw a wrench, because that's the biggest concern everywhere all the time. Penticton, their $7 million dam project cost $11 million. We can't afford that, and I'm glad you haven't been overly optimistic in your budgeting, because it's far worse to have overruns than to have a big budget. So that's what I heard, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Through the mayor, we have had some change orders, but they are still within the contingency value. So there's been enough money set aside. There hasn't been an issue yet. But again, it is relatively early in the project, but we don't see it as being over 100% of that budget spend.
With Prairie Valley delayed a bit, what impact will that have on the Victoria South start date?
Again, through the mayor, we haven't awarded that project yet. We're still in the review process. So I'm not sure as far as schedule, but I don't think it'll have an impact.
So it hasn't been set, the date hasn't been set in stone yet for that one?
That's correct.
Right, okay, thanks. Anyone else? If I could get a motion to receive for information. Councilor Peak, Councilor Van Elfen, all in favor? And any opposed? None opposed, that carries. What do we got next year? Financial results as of June 30th, 2025. Director of Finance, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, maybe not me.
CEO.
I can do that. Our corporate officer dropped a smoke bomb. It disappeared at this moment. So let me just go back to that. Yeah, we had as part of the motion today, a second part here. There's an incredible opportunity that due to good collaboration, actually, I should say we've seen some good collaboration with partners on the utility side overall in the Wharton project. The first is a $10,000 grant that we've now recently got from Fortis and we'll be announcing. And secondly, TELUS has a little building right beside the Henry Avenue. And it's one of these reasons, like Jake mentioned, has all these cables and everything running into it. It's like a conduit for their system. And that building is on a piece of property that's larger than their building. And it came to us that what would be wonderful is if we could put our four-season washrooms on that surplus, what we perceive as surplus property adjacent to Henry, rather than on Henry, that would sort of like impact the overall viewscape down to the cenotaph, looking down Henry. And due to some fancy footwork on the part of the mayor, I might add, that TELUS has actually come around and said, yes, they're willing to do that. And I have to say, it's a big deal because generally I don't think generally don't like sharing their properties that have these sorts of important pieces of conduit and then systems and boards and all that, but they have said they see the broader public purpose. But what it's going to take is for us to enter into a license of occupation with them that is attached to this report as well. And we do have a motion, a separate motion that we would like council to take a look at and give hopefully some support to in order that the mayor and the corporate officer could enter into this license of occupation. Time is of the essence because we're right at that place where we're sort of roughing in all those conduits and things for our own piping and whatnot for that washroom. So we'd love to have it off of Henry Avenue and on the TELUS property if that is possible. So that is, I guess, sort of the overall issue. Happy to take any questions of that. And also Mr. Svetlichny, our finance director, is here as well, who is helping stick handle some of the changes in that license of occupation.
Okay, we've discussed this before. Anybody, any questions? No. Councillor Betts?
I'm happy to bring forward the
Okay.
motion as presented.
Yeah, fine. Councillor Peak? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny talking, TELUS, it's kind of strange that there's the phone exchange right in the center of town, but I guess we're not unique. Like back in the day when they started setting up phone exchanges, that's where they went, right in the middle of town. And now they don't need to be in the middle of town, but that's where they are. So that's so it was great that TELUS is stepping up, and certainly appreciate it. It's going to help a lot rather than have the washrooms right in the middle of the square. So CF that?
Yeah, I think if the council's okay with it, we'd like to do a little news release that sort of acknowledges the good support we've had from Fortis, TELUS on this issue, and also several ICBC grants now that when you add those up with the Fortis piece, I think it's over $100,000 we've been able to chase down. So make the community know that there's these things happening.
Councillor Barkle?
Would it be appropriate to also include the money from the Legion for their contribution on the, to include that there?
Thank you. Yes, through the mayor.
Sounds like it was a long, arduous process getting through the bureaucracy of TELUS, but I'm glad we're here in time.
Yeah, I mean, I know government gets a bum rap for the bureaucracy, but large corporations, having worked for one myself, I know the bureaucracy in large corporations is out of this world. So. So anyway, I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Okay, now we'll move on to the financial report. Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first 6 months of 2025 have been comparable to previous years. Our operational revenue is on track across all of our funds. The largest component, of course, being in the general fund revenue is our property taxation, which was billed out in May. Water, sewer, and electrical fund revenue figures are all close to 50% of budgeted amounts, which of course is reflective of what we've projected to the end of the year. Now, on the expense side, the majority of our cost centers are below 50% of budgets. Many variances are simply just timing differences, with the related work being completed in late summer or early fall, or year-end adjustments that we don't record until the fourth quarter of the year. And now specifically, the three lowest cost centers that are in the table in your council report are the general fund debt and transfers, water supply and distribution, and sewer collection and treatment. Now, all of those cost centers have large MFA debt payments for which principal payments aren't due until October of 2025. All other expense cost centers are over the 30% mark when compared to budget figures, the majority having expenses specific for work being completed in the third quarter of 2025. So overall, district operations are in a healthy financial position and there are no identified concerns at this time. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Council, any questions? No questions. If someone would like to move to receive for information, Councillor Peak.
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay, second, Councillor Van Elfen. I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. And budget timeline. Director of Finance.
Thank you. So the purpose of the report in front of council today is to provide council with the proposed 2026 budget timeline. So as noted in the report, the proposed timeline focuses on reviewing utility budgets at the end of October and then switching to general fund budgets in early December. In all, there are 7 proposed meetings to specifically discuss budgets, rates, and council priorities. The first meeting is scheduled for October 29th. In addition to the budget meetings, there are 2 open houses scheduled. Virtual public open house will be held on November 10th to introduce utility budgets and potential rate increases for the upcoming year. And additionally, the more formal general fund open house is scheduled for January 14th. That meeting will be held at the Arena Banquet Room, and it will go from 5 to 7 p.m. With all departments present to answer questions the public may have. Our hope is to have the 5-year financial plan adopted by council on March 3rd, and then property taxes in April and May. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, council? Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave, I just want to note last year on October 31st, I think we did the 9 to 2 o'clock just because of Councillor Trainer and I having other responsibilities on Halloween with our children. Now, I know that that's the third, I believe that's the 3rd day in that session. Is it possible to change that to a 2 o'clock finish?
Through the mayor, as noted, that is the 3rd day. And since I've been here, we've never gone into day 3 of utility budgets. So I think if council's okay, we'll just leave it at 3 for now on the schedule, but knowing that if by some miracle we have to go into a 3rd day, we would end early. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Trainer.
Is there any consideration to doing the utility budget in person instead of online? Would that be, even if we had it here, because it is smaller than the general budget presentation? I'm just wondering if that's an option.
So through the mayor, yeah, it's definitely an option. The reason we've done it virtually over the last 2 to 3 years, well, 4 years actually, was for the first 4 years of doing it, we actually used to do it in council chambers, and we never had one member of the public ever attend. So the thought was, and COVID kind of helped, I guess, move things onto a virtual platform, was that we would just do it virtually. However, should council wish to want to do that in person, we definitely could do that.
I don't know what the rest of council thinks, but I kind of think that one, we do the other one in person. So I was thinking that maybe this one should be done in person as well. And you always do a really good presentation. So maybe that presentation can be shared online afterwards. But I don't know what other people think.
Councillor Fargo.
Are you thinking to do one in the arena? I think we'd get more people at the arena than we would here. But yeah, and you know, I wouldn't argue against it every now and then, maybe not every year, but maybe once in a while to see how, what sort of a, yeah, I guess I support that idea, but I would support it at the arena.
I guess the reality is though, before we never got people to the utility, whereas when it's on Zoom, we do get people and we do get questions with people participating on Zoom. It's quite convenient. So, you know, and when we do the budget open house for the general budget, it's kind of like an open house for the whole district, and everybody has their displays there and on the tables. And hopefully this year we'll have the RDS there as well. So it's a bit more of a, there's a bit more to it. So, you know, it's all about providing, how do you get the information to a way that's convenient for our citizens, for our residents. And I think for the utility budgets, the Zoom thing has been has worked quite well in terms of providing access, so. I don't know, and I know hybrids don't work, so. Councillor Trainer.
Yeah, the reason I thought about it is just there seems to be more interest in the utility budgets now than there was, and I agree before there was no interest, but that's kind of changing. And I just think sometimes it's a good opportunity for people to ask questions in real time and yeah, so I don't know, I kind of think we should be doing the utility budgets in person. I mean, we do the other ones in person. So.
We could try. Councillor Barkwell, and that's.
Thank you, Sid. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would support giving it a try, and I prefer at the arena where it's a more interactive opportunity for people to understand where our utility spending comes from, why the increases are in place. I think the more knowledge that our residents have, the better.
Councillor Barkwell.
Excuse me, sorry, the more I think about it, the more I really like the idea. And if it doesn't work out and we don't get good attendance, and then so be it. But, you know, the utility budgets are a big part of our budget, especially when you have the electrical utility, and that's a big part of what people spend their money on. And it's not something that's well understood, you know, and the importance of maintaining our infrastructure and the costs associated with doing that, which seems to go up every year. So all those things considered, yes, if there's a motion or direction or something, I'm for it.
See, do we need direction on that, corporate officer, or?
The mayor, so the motion will just do approved as amended to hold the utility budget open house in person. It's just not, oh, there we go.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so if you bring that forward, second. Councillor Mousen, second? No. Councillor Barkwell, second. Okay, any Director of Finance?
My only comment right now is I do have to check with our rec department to find out whether or not the facility is actually rentable on that November 10th day. So if I've already asked Lori to talk to her staff. But if by chance it's not open, like we may have to move the date or the date a day here or there, but
Well, I could do it at the Riga Center as well.
yeah.
Yeah, might even be better. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that would be easier.
yeah,
It's big enough.
yeah. Okay, Councillor Chair.
Yeah, the final thing that I was just thinking about and why we should do this in person is because we have so many projects this year where we are dealing with, you know, the primary clarifier, we're doing all the electrical work. And so I think that we can speak to those as well at that presentation. So I think there would be more interest and I think people would appreciate being able to come in person. And I think the Riga Center would be great. So I do realize it's a bit more work, but I think it's worth it.
Okay, anybody else? I just have a question separate from this. How do we, so we're doing permissive tax exemptions this year, correct? And how do we normally deal with those? Where do they fit into it and
So our permissive tax exemptions, the applications were all due to us by, I think it was the end of July. We're currently in the process of vetting them, going through them, ensuring that the applications that we've received actually meet the criteria of our PTE, or Council's permissive tax exemption policy. As required by our application and our policy, applicants will be coming before council, I believe, on September 9th to present their applications to council. And then after that, there'll be a council report with a bylaw, with a permissive tax exemption bylaw attached. And that bylaw must be adopted by October 31st in order to ensure that those applicants actually get a PTE.
will it be presenting at a regular council meeting?
Committee of the whole.
Right, committee of the whole. Oh, okay. Councilor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through our Director of Finance. So part of that, they have to supply financial statements to us?
Through the mayor, yes.
Okay, if nothing else, I'll call the question. It's on the screen there. It's being moved and seconded. All in favor? None opposed, that carries. Bylaws for adoption, we have two. One, the Water Utilities Amendment Bylaw. One that can bring that, Councillor Van Elfen. Second, Councillor Peak. Call the question, all in favor? And none opposed, that carries. And the Servicing Officer Establishment Bylaw. Someone like to bring that forward for adoption? Councillor Trainer, Councillor Barkwell. I'll call the question, all in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Now the items removed from the consent agenda. I'll start with 1A, a letter from
Lions Bay, the village.
Lions Bay. Councillor Peak.
Yes, this is a request for the province to cost in the opportunity for skid-mounted gallon per day portable water treatment plants where smaller municipalities or towns have wildfires or some things that happen. And I think that this is something that does occur within our province, and I would like to see us sign on as a supporter of this.
Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, when I read that, it seemed like a good idea. But then also made me wonder, like, I've seen stats where there's hundreds of communities in Canada, and I don't know how many in BC that don't have potable water 24/7. So if there's money to be spent on a system like that, surely it should go to those communities that don't have potable water to begin with. And most of them are remote Native communities, Indigenous communities.
I just like to note, this is a resolution coming forward to UBCM. And I know there are municipalities there that debate every UBCM resolution that's coming forward to put a united front from their municipality. But unless somebody thinks we ought to be doing that, we've always, everybody's voted the way they want at UBCM. So I don't really think we need to debate this here and now. This is going to be debated at UBCM, and we can all vote the way we want at UBCM. Councillor Peak.
I think that's just fine, Your Worship. I happen to know this does become a problem, but I understand that the principle of doing that discussion and going to the mic is just as valid.
Okay, thank you. And then the other letter from the Equine Group regarding the rodeo grants. Councillor Trainer.
They sent a letter to us just asking if we can reverse projects in order. I don't have a problem with it, but I don't know if it's an issue from staff's perspective. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, do we need a motion? Okay, so I'll make a motion then. Kendra, we had briefly talked about that before, just to reverse the order of, it looks like remove warm-up ring fencing project and add purchase and install of 5 tier 50 seat aluminum bleachers. So move that project up. Did everybody get a chance to see the letter? Yeah, okay.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Betts. Any discussion? Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just note that I'd like to take the opportunity to respect the user groups when they come forward with kind of common sense amendments, and that if this is what makes sense to them, plus they're already talking about actively funding different improvements at the rodeo grounds. And I just think that that's really important. That's what we were hoping for from them. So I'm happy to support this request on their behalf.
Yeah, thank you. No further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. And we just need a resolution to receive the two letters. Counselor Peak, Counselor Trainer, all in favor, and that carries. Now, if I could get a resolution to close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 91 C, E, G, and I of the Community Charter.